Hello, welcome back to 3D Geometry Model Railway. We're continuing to work on the Parrot Wagon that we started last week. But before we go any further, I did notice I'd made a bit of an error in that last video. What we did is we extruded symmetrically across this first one. But what I forgot to do here was actually divide that by 2, so that we're actually only going to have half the width to give the full width of the wagon. So it's basically what happened is each half was the full width the wagon should have been. So we're just going to go back in that history to the original extrusion and on the end put divided by 2. That will mean that we've got to do some things here to just try and change these. So that first couple are okay, the tapered edge is okay. The next issue is this part here. So we're going to edit that feature and we've dragged that all the way across, and all we've got to do is just change the distance to snap to that original point there. Click on OK. And then everything else from that point onwards catches back up and works itself back out, so it's the correct width now, only having just under 8 millimeters, which is 16 foot. So today's episode, I'm going to start the new things by starting to draw the buffer on the end here. As you can see, it's quite a weird shaped buffer. It's not rectangular to the headstock here. You've also got the extra brace and support. It's quite a thin shank as well on those, so that's quite an interesting part to look at. So we're going to come back into Fusion. I'm going to draw on the end face here. So create a sketch on that end surface, and I'm going to start by, I think I'm just going to start by doing a rectangle. It's slightly in from the side, and it looks like we're coming across good maybe 18 inches or so. So it's just going to start. Is it at the top and bottom? Yeah, as you see, it's pretty much joined to the top and bottom. We'll join like that. The height we've already got defined, so we don't need to do anything with that one. Distance from the edge, I'm going to change that to 0.2 millimeters. And I'm going to define the length. Why is that? That's a constraint here. I've got to delete that one because it picked up the midpoint there. And constrain the length. I'm going to go for, I think, about 3 millimeters, which is going to give me about 18 inches, which I think I'm going to be happy with that, I think. I'm going to extrude this forwards by 0.2 millimeters. And then the next thing I'm going to do is create the cuts for these slants at the top corners. So again, create a sketch on that surface, and I'm going to draw a line like that. Okay, so let's have a look at the picture. So it's longer than it is deep, so that's not too bad. I'm going to maybe 0.4 millimeters, and then the length maybe 1 millimeter. 6, 12, that's about the same, 18. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. So 1 millimeter across and 0.4 down, and then we can just extrude that corner off. You see how it cuts that there. Okay, yeah, happy with that. So just going to go back into that sketch, and then I'm going to draw that again. Going to put, actually, if I draw a line down from the midpoint and midpoint. So with those lines drawn now, I should be able to just mirror that line across, mirror that line across that centre line there, and across. No, we can only do one at a time, so we do that, and then we do mirror again. If we select those two, and then the horizontal line, those two, and then mirror line being that one, click on OK. And finish the sketch. Again, it's only extruded the one, but if we come into that extrusion and now just pick up those four, it'll cut them all off. So the next thing I'm going to do is draw the bottom part of the shank here. So just create a sketch on that inside there. You can pick up the midpoints. It's quite a small one, so I'm just going to go for, say, 1mm. I do want a bit of strength on there. And then we can extrude that out. If we turn this around and have a look on the canvas, you can see we've actually got the height of it. So we've got 1.7mm, which actually is okay for us. Okay, so to create this shape coming around the outside here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on the front surface of that shank which was drawn, just a centre point rectangle initially. But it's going to be about 1mm square, I think. And then we can pick up the profiles like that. And then I'm going to extrude those. I'm going to give them a thickness of 0.5, just a little bit of, oh, that might be a bit too thick actually. So maybe 0.3. Okay, so the next thing I want is to create a sketch on the top edge here. And I'm going to project that point in, and then we're going to draw a line from there to that point, and then we want a line. I want it to be parallel, which is going to mean this is probably going to be thinner, like that. Okay, that profile's not closed, so we'll have to draw a line there. That's it. So you can see how it's thicker at this point here than it is here, but what's that work out as? 0.15. It's quite thin. It will print. It's going to be quite thin and delicate. And then we can extrude. Oops, select that profile. See if we can catch that again. It's just lagging a little bit. Okay, extrude that to the bottom edge there. Click OK and that will join. Oops, spin that back around here. Okay, and then I'm going to mirror this across. So I'm going to have to put an offset plane in here to be able to mirror on. Select that edge, which is the side of the rectangle we just drawn. 0.5 offset plane. I'm going to actually need this in a second to draw the mid ones as well. So it's actually not a bad thing to have. And we're going to use the mirror tool, selecting the feature. I'm going to mirror that feature we've just done across that mid plane. So we've got those two side parts on there then. So the next thing we need to draw is these ones here. So we're going to use that mid plane we just created, and we're going to project, let's just turn this around, I'm going to project that line, and I'm going to project the buffer shank itself there, and we can rotate round again. We draw a line from there. It does, if you look at the picture, it doesn't go all the way to the end. There is a small gap towards the end there. So why is that not snapping? Never mind. I'll pick the height there. That'll be fine. We'll draw that like that. Let's define an angle from there. Okay, it won't because it's not projected a line there. Let's go line down there, and then line across there. That's it. And we define that angle, and I'm going to go for, let's go for 70 degrees just to make it nice and even. I actually think about this, we're going to need to have this lower. So I'm just going to grab that point there. I'm just going to draw a small rectangle at the bottom. And the reason for that is because of the curvature of the shank here. If we just do the top, you'll have a bit sticking out the side. We need this to go down into the buffer itself. So let's see if we can pick up that profile, select that top profile as well, extrude. I'm going to do symmetrical. Let's turn it side on so we can see the width. So that'll be 0.2. Let's go for 0.15. That gives us a 0.3 millimeter width. Click on OK, and I'm going to tell that to join. I don't mind having that little tiny bit there, you're not going to notice it, so I'm happy with that. And then we need to mirror that down to the bottom half as well. So we're going to have a mid plane for the body here. So select top and the bottom, click OK, and then I can mirror that down. Mirror feature, select the one we've just drawn, mirror plane being that midpoint. There you go. So we've got top and bottom there. So the next thing I'm going to draw is the rivets here. They might possibly be bolts, but I'm just going to draw them as rivets because you won't be able to tell the difference. I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to go onto the back surface here. And I'm going to create a circle, dip position. No, it's about halfway down here. So something like that. I'm going to go for 0.3 millimeters. And I'm just going to move this. So I think about there will be okay. There is a bit of a compromise to be had here, but so let's go 0.3 down and across. Ooh, I think that's, delete that one. Is that angle? We don't want that. I'll go 0.8 across that way. That's it. And then normal rivets, I extrude 0.15 and then chamfer off the top ring there as 0.15, and that gives us a nice round rivet. And then we're just going to mirror these across. So use the mirror tool, selecting features, ones we've just drawn, mirror plane down, click on OK, and put the mirror plane 3 back, which is the midpoint, and then we'll just mirror features that we've drawn and the mirror, and then the mirror plane would be that point there. Click on OK. So we've got our 4 bolts. Turn off those planes. The next thing we'll draw is the rest of the shank coming out here. So just creating a circle, finding the midpoint, and I'm going to go for 0.8 here. So it's a bit smaller than the inside of the shank behind that plate there. And I'm going to turn that around, and we're going to just extrude that. I'm going to go 0.7. It's not quite as far as this, but it's quite small and delicate, so I don't want it to be too far out. So 0.7, and then again creating another circle on the front face here for the actual buffer beam, it's for the buffer itself. So if we have a look, you know, probably something about that sort of size I would say is okay. Let's have a look what that works out as. Try that again. There you go. Okay, so yeah, we'll go for 2 millimeters. Have a look, see how that looks size-wise. No, it's got to be bigger than that because this is taller than. It's definitely taller than that. So that's 2.5. There we go, we'll go with that. So select those two, extrude, and I'm just going to create it at 0.5 thick. Okay, so there's our buffer. It's quite a weird shaped buffer, but nice easy one to draw there, I think. Okay, happy with that. So I think I'm going to finish this episode here. It's taken about 15-20 minutes to draw this buffer, and it's quite complex, and I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. Hopefully you've all been able to follow along with the model here. If you have and you enjoyed the video, please like the video. Thanks for watching.